It's all yours, dear sir. Take it from here.
Oh, I didn't expect that. So, when I was actually preparing for this conversation, I thought that let's bring something different, a different perspective on diversity and inclusion, and a different perspective of our employees. But listening to the sessions yesterday and today, I think that is a perfect summary, because yesterday we spoke about talking to people over tea and biscuits about stuff that are really simple, about those small steps that we can change in perspective. And today we started with the everyday habits that build our culture and our perspective on being inclusive. And to be honest, this is a topic that was in my mind for quite some time when I was working with different companies. But lately, I think that I noticed a need for a different perspective for our employees. So, for example, in Kruk Group, where we speak a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because there is a strong ethical background, because the compliance is on a high level, because there is a high level of understanding of human rights, there's still a conversation that is happening outside of our business that really impacts our managers and our employees. And these are those habits and those topics that we talk about with friends, with families, after hours, and it's the entertainment industry that really influences our view on the world. So when we go outside of our offices or we close our laptops and we are switching to books, to movies, to music, to TV shows, we see this diversity. And there is no secret that this is more and more visible, that those companies behind those productions, this content, they also try to show the world as most diverse as it's possible. So this is the idea. Let's not forget that people in our organizations also speak about diversity and inclusion from a very different perspective without using those words, because they speak about what they see on their screen, on the pieces of paper.
Right. So we talk about the cultural lens in closing of this conference. If I were to ask you spontaneously, why cultural, in fact, after all we've talked about today and yesterday, why cultural would be a good closing idea? What would be your response?
Because we speak about the culture, to be honest. I mean, when we are speaking about building an inclusive team and approach of, treating everyone with respect and respecting the diversity, we are speaking about the culture of the organization. And it happened in the conversations a lot of times yesterday and today when our speakers were saying the culture, the inclusive culture, the accessible culture. So this is the culture, but let's add a word pop to it. So the pop culture, something that actually is important for everyone. And we don't think about it enough, but it is important for everyone. Everyone defines pop culture differently because we like different genres and different types of movies and books and games, etc. But still, we all strive for some entertainment and some joy. And with this joy also came some messages that are stuck in our head.
And yet the technology, when you think about the idea of what I called at this conference, personal preference algorithms, we have so many different categories where we are stimulated by information, opinion, viewpoints, and it's so easy to fall into one silo or another. So this is really...
It's very easy to, first of all, stick into your bubble. And second of all, it's very easy to polarize when you are putting a tokenism in front of the diversity and inclusion initiatives. And representation done wrong is the representation done without quality. And this is something that actually we discussed yesterday on the on-site workshop about the stories in entertainment that are showing the diversity, that we need the quality also to actually have this buy-in. We are speaking about employee buy-in. What about the audience buy-in?
Right.
Yeah, so this is the case.
You just reminded me how a few months ago I was in a more or less formal interview type of a situation with a news journalist, and the question that I expected to be getting was what kind of media do you consume? When you talk to a news anchor or an editor in a news studio, they would ask you this question, and spontaneously I thought, to me, it doesn't really matter what media specifically I consume as much as I really want to consume all different perspectives to figure out how influence is created in this equation.
Exactly. It's about not the media or the streaming service exactly, but what the content are we consuming. And we spoke about yesterday on the workshop, but I also, when I'm conducting workshops or just talk to people about diversity and inclusion on screen, I'm often using it as examples during the conversations at work. I didn't do it right now, I did it previously. And it's always, why do we cheer if we see that, for example, a Polish sportsman or sportswoman is like achieving something big in the sport industry? It's because we can relate to them. So there's the question, do you see yourself on screen? Is your group represented properly? Is it about the stereotype that some companies are using and this tokenism that is happening? Is it about the stereotypes also about the privileged group, which sometimes can be shown as an opposite side, but is it an opposite side?
Right.
Yeah, so the conversation happens all the time, not only in our business. And we as the experts, HR representatives, trainers, leaders should remember that people have different needs, different perspectives, and this is also built by the entertainment.
And yet it is deeply ironic because we talked about the evolution of the word woke itself. This is what we started the conference with. A word starts in an entirely positive connotation territory. 10 years later, it's almost entirely negative territory. And at the same time, when you talk about diversity, you have one large group of stakeholders saying diversity boosts productivity, boosts performance, boosts your sense of identity in a workplace. Now, in the past, in the 60s and 40s, you go back and it was expected that those two realities, your workplace and your whatever personal preferences and needs you might have, are completely separable. At this conference today, we talked about it. You cannot really separate that because it's like asking you to become an AI, a robot.
Like completely the opposite, right? Like we bring our identity to the workplace. We bring also our problems from work at home, but to our homes. So we spoke about also today about the well-being. So it's like work-life balance, but we started actually using the word work-life blending.
Right.
So I think that's all accurate, and we have to see those examples outside of work, but influencing our way of seeing our colleagues, our leaders, being productive more or less because of our views that are shaped by some good or bad quality.
Right. Let's take a close look at some of that. Whom do we want to invite to our conversation?
We have a wonderful guest joining us from TikTok, and we will start a conversation about the diversity and inclusion in the social media.
Wonderful.
But I think that Marta has something to say about the social media word being put next to the word TikTok. So right now joining us would be Marta Karczewska from TikTok, a government relations and public policy manager, Central and Eastern Europe at TikTok. Sounds very serious, but let's see what she has to say.
It does.
Yeah.